Ever pondered about the unknown depths of the ocean, particularly the Marianas Trench, the deepest part of our world's oceans? Picture the Marianas Trench. This awe-inspiring chasm is the deepest part of the world's oceans, plunging 7 miles beneath the surface. That's more than Mount Everest's height if you were to flip it upside down. It's a world of inky darkness, intense pressure and icy cold. It's a part of our planet that we know less about than the moon's surface. Now let's pivot our thoughts to the concept of nuclear detonation. A nuclear bomb, in its essence, is a device that releases energy in an explosive manner as a result of nuclear reactions, either fission or a combination of fission and fusion. Both reactions release vast quantities of energy from relatively small amounts of matter. The first reaction, fission, is used in atomic bombs. The second, fusion, is utilized in the hydrogen bomb, which is 1,000 times more powerful. The effects of a nuclear detonation are devastating. The initial blast can level buildings, the heat can ignite fires that blaze uncontrollably, and the resulting radiation can harm the environment for years to come. When the United States dropped atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, the cities were left in ruins and the after effects are still felt today. But the Marianas Trench is not a city. It's a different world entirely, a world unknown to most of us. This vast underwater trench is home to an array of unique marine life, from the fang-toothed fish to the gigantic squid, creatures that have adapted to survive in one of the most hostile environments on our planet. So we have two extremes, the destructive power of a nuclear bomb and the deepest part of our world's oceans. Now, imagine what if we detonated a nuclear bomb in this unfathomable depth? Let's dive into this fantasy scenario. The moment of detonation, what would be the immediate outcome? The mere thought sends shivers down the spine, doesn't it? Well, let's delve into this hypothetical scenario. At the instant of detonation, a nuclear bomb in the Marianas Trench would create an explosion of monumental proportions. The energy released would be colossal, akin to unchaining a star's fury at the bottom of the ocean. This energy would manifest as intense heat, light, and a shockwave of devastating power. Now imagine the scene. The bomb detonates. Within a fraction of a second, the surrounding water is vaporized, creating a cavity of steam and radioactive fission products. This is the initial explosion, a moment of pure, raw, and terrifying power. But we're just getting started. The explosion sends out a shockwave, a ripple of sheer force that travels upwards through the water. This shockwave is no ordinary wave. It's a wall of energy, racing towards the surface at supersonic speeds. The water in its path has no choice but to comply, to be pushed upwards, creating a bulge on the ocean surface that would dwarf any wave you've ever seen. But the story doesn't end there. The shockwave doesn't stop at the surface. It continues upwards into the atmosphere, creating a ripple effect that could reach far beyond the immediate vicinity of the explosion. Meanwhile, back at the epicenter, the cavity created by the initial explosion begins to collapse under the immense pressure of the deep ocean. The water rushes back in, creating another shockwave, this one heading downwards into the depths of the trench. So, in the end, what we have is a moment of cataclysmic destruction, an explosion of such magnitude that it creates not one but two shockwaves, one heading upwards, the other downwards. The ocean itself would be thrown into chaos, reacting with a violent surge as it attempts to absorb and dissipate this enormous release of energy. The ocean would react with a violent surge, but what happens next might surprise you. Following the initial surge, what would be the next sequence in our hypothetical scenario? One can imagine the immediate aftermath as a tempestuous maelstrom, a storm of energy and heat, leaving no room for life as we know it. The marine life in the vicinity of the detonation site would be instantly annihilated. Even the most resilient of creatures, such as the extreme deep-sea dwelling organisms, would not stand a chance against the nuclear onslaught. Now let's consider the shockwaves from the explosion. Not just a ripple in the water, but a violent force that would generate colossal waves, known as tsunamis. These are not your typical waves, but monstrous walls of water, triggered by the displacement of a large volume of water due to the explosion. Imagine these tsunamis racing across the ocean's surface, gaining momentum, their energy undiminished by the vast expanse of water. These mighty waves would surge towards land, and their arrival at the coastal regions would be nothing short of catastrophic. Coastal towns and cities would be met with an unstoppable force. Buildings would crumble like sandcastles in the face of the waves' might. The infrastructure we depend on daily would be swept away as if it were mere debris. The landscape would be forever changed, transformed by the raw power of the unleashed sea. Yet the true devastation lies not merely in the physical destruction. The loss of life would be unimaginable. Countless lives swept away in a matter of moments. A testament to the power of nature amplified by human intervention. The sea, once a source of sustenance and life, would become a harbinger of destruction. The ocean's depths, which were once shrouded in mystery and wonder, would reveal a new terrifying power capable of reshaping our world. Large waves would wreak havoc on coastal areas, but the true terror of our scenario is yet to unfold. The detonation of a nuclear bomb in the Marianas Trench would set in motion a sequence of events that would make us question our understanding of power, consequence, and the fragile balance of our world. The waves have settled, the initial shock has passed. What could possibly happen next? In the aftermath of such a cataclysmic event, the true horror begins to unfold. The detonation of a nuclear bomb in the Marianas Trench would result in an unprecedented nuclear fallout. This term, nuclear fallout, refers to the residual radioactive material propelled into the atmosphere following a nuclear blast. It's this fallout that would have far-reaching and long-lasting effects, particularly on our oceans. Imagine this. The fallout, carried by the ocean currents, would spread across the vast expanse of the Pacific, contaminating everything in its path. This radioactive material would infiltrate every level of the marine ecosystem, from the smallest plankton to the largest whales. The impact on marine life would be catastrophic. Many species would suffer from radiation sickness, leading to a massive die-off. The delicate balance of the oceanic food chain would be thrown into chaos. And it wouldn't stop there. The nuclear fallout would also affect birds and other animals that depend on the sea for food. Even humans at the top of the food chain would not be immune. The fish we eat, the water we drink, all potentially contaminated with deadly radiation. But what about the global climate? Well, the explosion would release enormous amounts of dust and soot into the atmosphere. This could block out sunlight, causing temperatures to plummet. We're talking about a nuclear winter scenario here. Crops would fail. Famine would ensue. The world as we know it would be changed forever. Remember, this is all hypothetical. We're not suggesting anyone should try this. In fact, we're strongly advocating against it. But it's important to understand the potential consequences of such an event. It's a stark reminder of the destructive power we humans wield and the responsibility we have to wield it wisely. The ocean, once a symbol of life and beauty, would turn into a deadly radioactive soup. In the final act of this fantasy, what would be the lasting impact of such an event? Imagine, if you will, the long-term consequences of such a cataclysmic event. The ecosystem of the ocean, already delicately balanced, would face a seismic shock, both literally and metaphorically. The immediate vicinity of the explosion would be a wasteland, a barren void where once teemed a myriad of marine life. Species, both known and unknown, would face extinction. The nuclear fallout would not discriminate between the tiny plankton and the mighty whale. The radioactive material would enter the food chain, poisoning countless organisms and leading to a cascade of deaths that could potentially wipe out entire species. But the devastation wouldn't stop there. The impact on humans and our societies would be profound. Consider the seafood industry, a significant source of livelihood for millions around the world. The contamination of the oceans would render vast swathes of seafood inedible, plunging countless communities into economic turmoil. And what of our coastal areas? The initial tsunami would lay waste to many, but the lingering radiation could render them uninhabitable for generations. The displacement of people, the loss of homes and heritage, the psychological trauma, the human cost is unimaginable. Moreover, the health risks associated with exposure to radioactive material are well documented. Cancer, genetic mutations, and a host of other illnesses could become commonplace. The burden on our healthcare systems, already stretched thin, would be immense. And let's not forget, the oceans are the lungs of our planet. They absorb vast amounts of carbon dioxide, helping to mitigate the effects of climate change. The disruption of this natural balance could have untold effects on our global climate, perhaps exacerbating the very crisis we are struggling to control. In the end, the detonation of a nuclear bomb in the Marianas Trench would be a disaster of epic proportions, a testament to the destructive power mankind holds. Our journey into this fantasy scenario has been quite the adventure. We've explored the immediate chaos of an underwater nuclear explosion, the colossal impact that reverberated across the globe, and the long-term effects that forever altered our planet. Such a scenario, though purely fantastical, underscores the immense power that lies at our fingertips, and the profound, lasting effects our actions can have. While this is purely a work of fantasy, it serves as a reminder of the respect we must have for the power we wield and the world we inhabit.